When we talk about lowering cholesterol with food, the advice can be, well, a little vague, right? Eat healthier. But what if we could get way more specific? What if we could actually use certain foods like a targeted toolkit to actively bring those numbers down? Well, that's exactly what we're going to get into, a food-first strategy for taking real control of your cholesterol.
So let's start with a pretty bold question. Can what you eat actually lower your cholesterol as much as a statin? It sounds like a stretch, but this is really at the core of what we're exploring. The science is pointing to yes, that a carefully chosen strategic, plant-based diet can pack a punch that's right up there with first-generation medications. So how on earth is that possible?
All right, first things first, let's be crystal clear on our target. We are zeroing in on LDL-C. That's low-density lipoprotein cholesterol. You've heard it called the bad cholesterol, and for good reason. Research has shown it plays a direct, causal role in atherosclerosis, which is just the hardening and narrowing of your arteries. So for our purposes, lowering LDL is goal number one.
So, to take on that LDL, we're going to build an arsenal, straight from nature. I want you to start thinking of specific plant foods, not just as generally healthy, but as active fighters. Each one has its own unique weapon, its own special way of getting the job done.
Okay, this is where it gets really cool, right down at the molecular level. See, our bodies have this molecule called cholesterol. It's an essential sterol. But here's the thing. Plants have their own version called plant sterols. And they look so incredibly similar that our bodies kind of can't tell them apart. In that case of mistaken identity, that's their secret weapon. So how does this similarity actually work for us? Well, think of plant sterols like bouncers at the very exclusive club that is your intestine. Because they look so much like cholesterol, they basically cut in line. They get in the way and physically block the real cholesterol from getting absorbed into your bloodstream. It's this amazing bit of biological competition. Now, soy protein, it uses a completely different tactic. If plant sterols are the bouncers, soy protein is the factory manager. It marches right into the liver, which is basically cholesterol headquarters, and it starts influencing the genes that control everything. It tells the liver, hey, we need to clear more LDL out of the blood. Get the machinery running. So you've got two powerful foods using two totally different but brilliant mechanisms.
So here it is, our full toolkit. We've got the plant sterol bouncers, we've got the soy protein factory managers, then you have viscous or sticky fiber that literally traps cholesterol, and of course, nuts and seeds, which are just packed with good stuff. Each one of these is a heavy hitter on its own. But what happens when we put them all on the same team?
And that brings us to the battle plan. It's a strategy called the portfolio diet. And it's designed specifically to combine all these individual fighters into one powerful, synergistic, cholesterol-crushing force.
The whole concept is actually pretty simple. The portfolio diet isn't really about what you take away. It's all about strategic addition. You're intentionally building a portfolio of these 4 food groups into your day-to-day, letting them all work together to achieve that one common goal.
Let's just look at the numbers for a second. Each piece of this portfolio makes a real dent in LDL all by itself. We're talking in the 5 to 10% range, and with plant sterols, you could even get up to 15%. I mean, those are really meaningful drops from individual food groups.
But when you add them all together, that synergy is incredible. Following the full portfolio diet can lower your LDL cholesterol by up to 30%. 30%! That puts it right in the same league as early statin medications. That's the amazing power of a combined food strategy.
And here's the best part. You don't have to be perfect. This isn't an all-or-nothing game. The research is clear that the more of these foods you bring in, the better your results. But even just adding 1 or 2 of these food groups to your diet can make a real, measurable, positive difference.
Okay, but there is a major plot twist in this story, especially today. In our rush to embrace plant-based eating, we've kind of stumbled into a trap, the world of ultra-processed foods. And believe me, not everything with a plant-based sticker is on your team.
This quote from a recent study just nails it. The massive health advantage you get from eating plants, it can be completely wiped out, or even worse, it can backfire when industrial processing gets involved. This is such a crucial thing to understand in the modern grocery store. I mean, just look at this data from a huge study in France. The results are just jaw-dropping. A diet rich in minimally processed plant foods was linked to a 40% lower risk of heart disease. Amazing, right?
But a diet high in ultra-processed plant foods? A 40% higher risk. The message couldn't be clearer. How the food is processed can matter even more than the fact that it came from a plant.
So, what are we even talking about when we say ultra-processed? Well, think of them as industrial formulas. They usually have super long ingredient lists with things you would never find in your own kitchen, like emulsifiers, hydrolyzed proteins, or high-fructose corn syrup. It's basically food that's been broken down into its parts and then put back together in a factory.
Okay, so we have our arsenal of foods, we've got our battle plan, and we know about the trap we need to avoid. So let's bring this all home and talk about how to actually build a plate that is actively working for you.
If you take just one single thing away today, please let it be this. Focus on whole foods. Don't get distracted by the plant-based label on the front of the box. That's a start, but choosing whole, minimally processed foods is where the real power for your heart is.
And you know, getting started can be really simple. You don't need a massive, stressful overhaul. Just think in terms of simple, powerful swaps. Can you swap out butter for some avocado? Could you try lentils or tofu instead of red meat for just one meal? How about switching that sugary breakfast cereal for a bowl of oatmeal with some berries and nuts? Every single one of those little swaps puts another fighter from your portfolio onto your plate. So I'll leave you with a final question, and this one's for you to think about. Knowing about this incredible arsenal of foods, knowing how powerful they can be, what's just one cholesterol-fighting food you can add to your plate starting today?